All right, so today I want to talk about this story that came out yesterday out of Project Veritas, and it showed a Bernie Sanders staffer, saying a bunch of very crazy, very scary stuff. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it is that I think this is where the left is going because I mean I know it's not a Canadian story, but it's very relevant in that most people, at least on the left, not on the right, but on the left, they consider Sanders to be very moderate now. I mean, his policies would have been considered very out there just 5, 10 years ago, and now he's a moderate, and he was the guy who I think he flip flopped on the issue, but he was one who's saying that we can't have open borders, we can't give everybody that wants to come across the border free health care. Now he changed his mind recently on that, but like I say, he's actually kind of a moderate compared to a lot of these other people, which is very scary. But getting into the story here, a Project Veritas video released Tuesday showed a man identified as a campaign organizer for Democratic presidential hopeful Senator Bernie Sanders saying cities will burn if Trump wins re-election and predicting violence against police at the 2020 DNC National Convention in Milwaukee. Asked what would happen if Mr. Trump is reelected, the man described as Sanders' campaign field organizer Kyle Jurek said, cities will burn, adding, I mean, we don't have a lot of time left. We have to save human civilization. In the undercover video, the first Project Veritas Exposed 2020 series, he also expressed support for ideological re-education camps for Trump supporters. Literally, yes, that is literally what he said, comparing them to Nazis, praised gulags, he praised communism, all this kind of stuff. And like I say, you can go read up more into the issue more if you want, but like I said, it not only this is a lot of the other field organizers were perfectly on board and perfectly fine with this kind of stuff. Like they say in the video, if you go watch it, this guy was talking about like this kind of stuff like right pretty much from day one. Like he wasn't afraid to speak his mind on this kind of stuff. So he's very comfortable talking about this kind of stuff, which means it's normalized to these kind of people, that it's completely normal to call for political opposition to be put in gulags. It's perfectly normal to call for violence if you don't get your way. And that's where we're at in modern society. And why it's such a big issue is that this stuff's going to get worse before it gets better, because like where is the outcry? I mean, the outcry is there on the right, but where's the outcry on the left announcing this kind of stuff? And the thing that I would point out too, for any of the I don't know, for lack of a better word, idiots, dumbed down people that say, "Oh, it's just as bad on the right." Well, no, it isn't. You're absolutely insane if you suggest that, because where is the Trump supporters, or the major Trump campaign staffers or Republican politicians calling for jailing political opposition? It doesn't exist. And where's the Trump people saying that if he doesn't get reelected, they're gonna cause riots, they're gonna fight police and all this kind of stuff? Like I say, it doesn't exist. Where's the Antifa of the right? Doesn't exist. So yeah, I know you can point to maybe isolated situations where Trump supporters have been violent. Obviously, I'm not saying they don't exist at all, but compared to the left, it's a cakewalk. Like it's not even comparable. And the reason why it's gotten so bad on the left is not enough people are willing to call him out. And we have this thing where the average people, that when the right does something the slightest bit wrong, Trump says something, the locker room talk about the grabbing women, and it's absolute outrage. But when you have, like I say, that's just locker room talk. Like pretty much every guy in the world is talk like that at one point or the other. And you have something where you have a campaign staffer literally calling for communism, literally calling for violence, and the outrage is non-existent for most of these people that were outraged over Trump. And like I said, we have the same kind of stuff in Canada going on. We had the Andy No talk about left wing Antifa violence, and it was shut down over threats of violence from Antifa. And like I said, this kind of stuff is crazy. And the reason why it's getting so bad out there, people always, well, the big question is, well, why is it getting so bad out there? Why is it so crazy? Well, it's because you don't have the balls to stand up to the people that are causing it in the first place. Because when everybody wants to have meaning in their life, they want to feel like they're making a difference. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, you have two general, on average, sides you can stand up to. You have the violent, we're gonna throw you in gulags and beat you if you don't agree with us, and you have the side that's if you don't agree with us, well, whatever. Which people are they going to side with? Well, they're going to side with the people that are going to beat them and throw them in a gulag if they disagree with them because they don't want to be beat and thrown in a gulag. It's very simple. And I don't understand why people can't come to grips with this kind of stuff. Now, if you want to improve society, you're going to have to stand up to the people that want to beat you and throw you in gulags if they disagree with you. And for all the people out there saying, "Oh, you're just being hyperbolic. They're not actually communists," all this kind of crap, you have people literally calling for that, and one of the Democratic frontrunners. This guy's a major campaign staffer that was hired by Bernie Sanders, and most of his colleagues didn't disagree with him. If they did, they would have got him fired. In fact, almost all of them probably agreed with him. So this isn't an isolated thing. Like, people, like, stop trying to pretend this is an isolated thing. This is not an isolated thing. So the other thing to point out too is that the Project Veritas is going to be releasing more videos this week. I believe they're releasing another one today. Um, so go check those out, and yeah, like, keep an eye on this kind of stuff. And the whole point being here is that if we don't stand up to this kind of stuff, we're going to be living under a socialist country if we're lucky, let alone communist. And people, like I say, people like this get their way because they're willing to use however much violence is necessary. The right isn't willing to use violence. Christians aren't willing to use violence to get their way, but the people on the left are. And it's very telling about their policies too. That if their policies were so good, they shouldn't have to force people to do it. And on the vice versa, if the right's policies were so bad, you'd think they'd have to force people to do it, but they don't. So that's kind of the last point I wanted to bring up. But anyway, I just wanted to make a video about this because I think it's pretty scary that this kind of stuff is going on. And like I say, just when you come find these kind of stories, and just when you think it can't get any crazier, it gets crazier. So if you like the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.